how are we connected? So, because obviously you mentioned there was the music for dementia stuff. I mean, we haven't done loads with that, but we've done a bit.
Yeah, there's an affiliation there with the Music for Dementia 2020.
Right.
Basically, one of my resources is being shared through their various social media channels.
Right.
And that is the Song Journeys for Wellbeing, which is what it says really, but it's specifically designed for people living with dementia.
Okay.
And their carers to get involved with a little musical experience, playing instruments and singing along and clapping along, getting involved in whichever way they want to. So that's going up every week, and it's a pre-recorded thing, so it's not a live thing, it's pre-recorded. It means I put a lot of time into making it sound good and have it come across well for that purpose.
Yeah.
And of course, the work you're doing is also on that website as well, isn't it? I've seen your.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we're just basically punting it what we're doing around to all and sundry. The interesting thing for us. So I don't know how much you know about us in the first place, but basically in the old world, in the old days.
Yeah.
So we were all about. I've just realised I've got my vocal. All the reverb still on. I was thinking, that sounds
there's nothing wrong with a bit of reverb.
Yeah. Well, it depends how much you want. You can have that much.
Oh, we're going down the well, are we? All right
then. So we are, as an organisation, relatively small, based in Hertfordshire. We work with adults with learning disabilities, specifically adults, challenging perceptions outwardly, but also combating social isolation. It was our kind of main purpose, and it still very much is. What's interesting now in this sort of new world is that we're now not limited to Hertfordshire. We've got people coming from all over the world. We are delivering nearly 3 hours of content a day, if not more, and it's consistent, it's regular, it's meaningful. And we're getting people from all over, so it's really kind of changed our approach, and we're finding loads of things. The different types of people that are able to access it, not just physically or technically, but some. We're finding some of our members and our friends that we've been working with all these years are just struggling with Zoom and Skype and stuff as a concept.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It's often the more able and the more sort of socially, I would say mainstream of our members, the ones that you'd walk in a room and you'd be hard pressed to pick them out as a learning disabled adult, and I'm finding it very, very interesting that a lot of our guys who, they do struggle with all sorts of things, but they're really struggling at the moment, and they're really struggling with Skype and conferencing as a concept. Whereas actually for another huge swathe of our lot, it's working really beautifully. So I'm finding that a really interesting thing.
I mean, the first thing about the internet, obviously, is it overcomes the whole geographical barrier, of course. Yep. So, and here you are describing something which sounds international, working with people.
It's becoming that way,
Yeah, which is absolutely fantastic. And even, over the years, I've served the Bristol area. So I'm from Bristol, and the music provision that I do is in Bristol and then the surrounding area, North Somerset, Bath and North East Somerset, and so on and so forth. But now with this format, I'm finding that there really isn't that restriction, and I can work to a degree with people who have additional needs all over the country. And so that's actually surprised me, is the reach that this has. Obviously, the geographical limitations don't exist to an extent. But also what surprised me by this way of working is the reach in terms of meaningful participation and reciprocity and turn taking and sharing and shared behavior, shared attention, all these things that I thought well, these can't be done online. This is a no-go. It's like, hang on a minute, this has sort of blown my mind a little bit.
Well, in one of our groups, our Monday group specifically, we always struggled because it's full of very big personalities and quite demanding personalities when you put them together.
Yeah.
And we've always kind of struggled a little bit with the real life group, because there's a lot of kind of struggling with kind of who's getting more attention, who's not getting the attention and stuff. And there's something about the Zoom sessions that we've been running for that group specifically. Bearing in mind, we have like outward looking stuff, which is for everybody and anyone can come in. We have hundreds at a time, and we have inward looking stuff, which is, 15 to 20 people, quite controlled. And, now it's your turn now. And they are really responding in a much better than they ever did in the other way, which is when it comes to turn taking, when it comes to just enjoying other people's input and stuff like that, and appreciating their role within the group. For some reason, now that it's in these kind of pigeonhole boxes that you can see, now it is happening, now it's theirs, and and if I want to just mute and just have my own little rant or whatever, then that's fine. And, it's a really interesting thing.
And of course, the great thing, it's what I noticed about your organization and the sort of Zoom things that you do, is that there's no obstacles to someone getting involved. That can sometimes put people off. Certainly with online engagement, there's obstacles, there's barriers to overcome, maybe technical things.
Yep.
But obviously, because your organization is very much established, and you have those trust relationships with the people that you work with. And that obviously is a great help to have those trust relationships. And I think for anyone who's in a position where they found themselves stripped of their work because of this situation that they're in, and maybe they're, against the idea of going online because they think, oh, it can't work. We can't interact in this way, in a meaningful way, at least. I would say, if you have those trust relationships already built with your with the people that you work with, then go for it, because chances are, that's the foundation on which everything else grows and that builds and so on.
So long as there's also an honesty of like, come on, we're in this, I know it's weird, but if you can just, you just, I don't know, try and get people to interact. And one thing I've noticed is eye contact. I don't know if you've found this, or and I was looking into it with some of the intense interaction lot. Is that eye contact is a big thing now. So I have a sign on my camera here saying "Look here," and I have been trying, even since I've been talking to you,
me too,
trying to look in the camera, because.
Absolutely.
It's quite hard, right? Because I'm looking in the camera now, and I'm hoping that you're feeling like I'm actually talking right to you. That's But as soon as I look down at you here on my computer, there is this disconnect, and although it makes sense to me because I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, and it all works. But from what I can tell is, and I haven't actually kind of had any way of testing it with our guys to see if if I did that for an hour. Compared to if I did that for I'd have to do quite a lot of work to find that out. But I know that it can be quite tiring. If you're not totally understanding that there's I know that there is a physical gap between your camera and my image on your screen. If that's not something that is necessarily something that you can compute, then why isn't he looking at me? And that can be a bit of a strange thing. So I am constantly trying to look down the barrel of the camera to say, and particularly when I'm trying to have a moment with someone, because part of this is, a lot of what I'm doing at the moment is quite. So we have different practitioners, myself and two others, and we're splitting it up. I'm doing a lot of the outward looking stuff and the inward looking stuff where we do. I'm handing over to those guys for now. But they're finding as well, like that when you're trying to have a moment with someone and you've got them on spotlight, or you pin their image right so everyone's looking, and if you're looking right in the camera, I have found, and I know they have found, that it does make a difference. How much do you think this is going to change your general approach, and like what does post COVID-19 music making for Bath and Somerset look like for you?
Well, I think working in this way has made me think more about how I present to other people in my work. Because obviously the other thing to consider at the moment is you can see my face, great, bit of my shoulders, but really from here, 60% of me, 70% of me is out of shot.
Yeah,
That's a lot of communication.
I'm wearing a tutu under here.
Yeah.
No, it
and
is.
I believe you.
Yeah, I mean,
so
one of the things that we've been trying to do is set back a little bit, but then I also find that there is also that.
It's difficult to strike a balance,
Yeah.
But obviously, right now I've got my legs crossed. You might not know that. It's a sign that I'm relaxed. I'm comfortable. Certain things, these can be conveyed with my tone of voice and the things that you can actually see, my eye contact, my facial expression, so on and so forth, the words that I'm using. But so much is lost right now that would help you to gain understanding, gain insight into our relationship and how that impacts on whatever it is we're doing. Right now it's talking, but in the context of a music session, having that knowledge and understanding based on the full picture obviously is very conducive to communication and interaction in the music session, being creative, having fun, expressing joy, and so on. So there is a lot that's getting lost in this format. But I mean, the thing, I was having to think about this the other day, and I came up with this analogy of like a cool box for food. All right. We all know that the optimum place to keep food is in the fridge, right? Food goes in the fridge to keep it cool. But when we want to have a picnic, we got to go, well, it's not ideal, but we've got to put the food in the food bag and to keep it cool until we get to where we're having the picnic so we can eat it. We understand that the cool bag is not as good as the fridge. It's not as effective, but it's what we've got and it serves a purpose for now. And actually, if we think about it, it serves a very, very efficient and useful purpose. So I'm looking at it like that. I'm thinking, okay, so this isn't ideal. This isn't the fridge of music provision, but it's gonna be all right for now.
It allows you to carry on with your analogy. It allows you to take the food further, like the what you're doing. We are able to go into areas that neither you or I had ever explored before.
There we go.
And I think ultimately it has already in the 3 months that we've had. I mean, bearing in mind we started on day 1 of lockdown. So we, the week beforehand, we decided to cancel our sessions for, between then and at least what was then going to be half term. And we said, right, well, we'll just not do these couple of weeks. And then on day 1 of lockdown, after a very wobbly day or so of my partner in this Mel and I going, what the hell are we gonna do? Because all of our funding and all of our work relies on us being in the room. We'd never even considered the idea of not being in the room together. So we had a very wobbly period where it was like, what, how, and why, and where, if we can't, the money we have in the bank already is going to see us through to the end of next month. And then we're going to fold. So we've started
I can relate to all this.
Yes. We started on day 1. I said, okay, well, the only thing we can try is what does Electric Umbrella Online look like? We had no idea. And by the end of that week, we were cooking on gas. We'd really sort of found a bunch of stuff that worked. I mean, we actually then did 7 weeks of like running ourselves completely ragged, doing 4.5 hours a day of delivery. Oh my God, it got outrageous. And then we were like, okay. So like, whoa, let's
I've got this feeling. I've got this feeling at the moment that I've never been this busy. What's going on?
Strange,
it's a new sort of busy though. I'm using muscles that I've never used before. But I mean, the key point there really with it's really great that we both had this week, because I had it as well, where I was just, my work's gone. What am I going to do? Well, that's it for the time being. But then I thought, well, let's give it a try and see what happens. And I think that simplify, I mean, for you, it's great because the whole idea of the organization is what it seems to me anyway, is that it's about really allowing people to have the opportunity to get involved in making music at face value, and expressing joy at being able to do that with other people. And that's brilliant. That's just very simple. And that's what I'm trying to do, is keep things very simple and have these online sessions that I'm doing really about the process of being creative, the process of creating opportunities for happiness to be felt, to communicate and to participate and to express one's musical ideas as well and convey ideas. And really, when you boil things down just to the process and get rid of the what outcomes am I achieving here? What goals am I setting for the individual or the group? You know, once you get rid of that, it becomes just about basic music making. And I think that this is a good.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's exactly what you say, because I think why it's worked for us is that we didn't have those things, because we're not we're not a music therapy provision. You know, we accept that within what we do, a lot of good music therapy happens. You know,
same here.
You know, but yeah, exactly. But when we're
I'm not a clinician.
No, and we're not an education service, but we accept that within what we do, a lot of education happens. And so because we came into this without those ties, you know, we are not assessing people's progress. That's just something that's not what we do. We work in groups. We work, you know, we bring people together. We're about meaningful social interaction. We're about you know, acceptance and an understanding of your place. We're about purpose and finding everybody's value and making everyone feel kind of safe and loved and all of that. And so we brought that stuff just into this world, and actually it translated pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the demonstrable outcome, if you like, is the music making in and of itself. You know,
yes,
if it's being sustained at the level that you want and that everyone's enjoying it, then that's it. You're fulfilling your purpose, if you like, you know. And that's certainly how I feel, is that I'm here to make music with people fundamentally.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I mean, you know, a huge part of what we're about, and I think what we've, I mean, it's changing all the time, you know, but at the core of it is about bringing people together through music and getting people out of, you know, socially isolating environments, and be that, you know, where they live or the daycare that maybe they've got themselves into or whatever. So, you know, it's just about making the world a little bit more yellow and accepting and crazy and all of that, you know, but in a picture frame, so you can show people, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the result, the ongoing result of making music, even in this way, even online, I think that the thing I'd like to impress upon someone who's maybe feeling a bit shaky about engaging this type of work, if they already have an established practice, face to face, so on, is that, you know, it's so much about just having faith in your ability to engage people, you know, on a very deep but very basic level. I think that's so important.
You just have to really strip it down, like you say. What is the basics of this? You know, if I was just teaching one-to-one, I was thinking about my son's piano lessons that he's been having. You know, he's not a particularly engaged piano learner. You know, he knows he would like to be able to play. He sees me be able to play, thinks I'd like to do that, you know. But you know, she's been very, very good, his teacher, at kind of drawing him in, moving him on, you know, and it is, you know, from a distance, and I think you've just got to commit yourself to doing it, and giving it a try. There are technical barriers. My setup now is pretty robust, but it's taken me several weeks to get to a point where that and go and then, you know, and I've got things like drum rolls that in case I'm waiting for somebody, and then wait for it. So when it happens, it's there. You know what I mean? So I've got it all kind of set up now, and if I, you know, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have these things to hand, because obviously what can happen with Zoom, and obviously I've seen one of your sessions, there's a lot going on, is, you know, fatigue can happen if you're not keeping it interesting and so on. So I mean, how do you, and for yourself as well as a practitioner, if that's what you call yourself, of course, how are you coping with the fatigue that comes from screens?
it's really interesting. I found that first 7 weeks that we were doing stuff where I think I was broadcasting at least 2 hours a day, if not more, and I was finding it exhausting, like really exhausting. Like I wasn't going out, but my goodness, by 9 o'clock, my eyes were shut. I was like my brain was just kind of really. I'm for some reason our new schedule means I'm doing about half as much. I'm doing it every other day rather, and I'm actually finding it better myself. But for us as musicians and as creative facilitators, it is about what I find exhausting is if I'm scabbling around for ideas. So if I don't quite know where I'm going with it, or if I find myself at a dead end and I'm having to, but actually,
being robust is the key word there. With that, you've got to make it as easy as possible for yourself. At all times.
And so now I think we've done so much that we've got tricks, we've got things that so say for example, the minute I get stuck, I pull out the beach ball of destiny, and that gets thrown around, and whatever it lands on, so this is like a song with numbers in it, so we'll do 3 is a magic number or whatever, or it would be about something that someone would say. I'd say to you, what song can we do in a different language, and someone would shout Have a Nagila, and would be off, and it's lovely.
Fantastic.
So things like that, and having that stuff around and keeping it interesting, making sure we're drawing on everybody's ideas, and making sure we, something that someone said last week, we're going to turn that into a game that the whole group can play.
And I think the key word in that as well is improvisation. I think especially with regard to this format as well, and of course face to face, but improvisation is so key. With the work that I'm doing, it's all well and good writing a list of what you're going to do. So I'm going to do a song first, and then I'm going to do drumming, and then this and so on. But it never works like that. Very rarely. It's just about responding to how the individual is presenting to you, how they're communicating to you, the level of participation, direct or indirect, their mood, and so on. It's about responding to that and improvising. And if you're losing someone with an approach, then do something else. I think hold your approach lightly. A lot of people are very stubborn with their content and their structure. Hold your approach lightly is something I always try and remind myself. Don't get too fixated on an idea or something. You have to really sort of keep the ball rolling and respond in real time as it happens. And that's quite difficult to do online. So I find myself having to use twice the amount of energy in making sure I'm focusing on where we at now. Okay, where we at now? Has something changed? Yes, it has. Let's do something else. Get the chime bar out, make a song up on the spot, do a little rhyme or a little drumming ditty or whatever it is you want to do. So that's what I'm finding, improvisation.
It's about having, dare I say, like tricks up your sleeve. That's kind of
absolutely.
How, and it's having an absolute ton of stuff in your arsenal, isn't it? It's like, well, I've got, and you throw the mud at the wall and see if it sticks, and then you know how someone's responding, and it's like, that's not going to work, but something we did ages ago in the real world, or that worked really well, and that will bring you back, and then I can sneak this other thing in.
It's funny how we're drawing from the real world, right? What can we use from the real world that will work in this strange place?
So strange. It is so strange, but like nearly every day we're able to come up with something, a new game, a new version of things. One thing I find really useful, particularly because we do like group work specifically. We don't do so much, in fact, nearly any actually one-to-one stuff occasionally. But we're finding things that work really, really well. It are the songs or the games or the whatever, where the whole group can be involved and everybody. So just like a simple game that we came up with on our 11 o'clock show, because our outward looking stuff is called Electric Umbrella TV, and it was just a really simple one. It was like thumbs up, thumbs down, and that's all it was. So you have like 20 screens, 20 squares in front of you, everyone can see them, and it was just like, I don't know, roast potatoes, thumbs, and like suddenly all these thumbs are coming towards you, and it's something. It's suddenly an engaging thing. Thumbs, then it just didn't matter what it was. But so though, and like musical statues, for example, is a fantastic game. Like it's a brilliant game to play on a Zoom room. Would you rather? We do a lot of would you rather, you know.
Okay.
And you know, A or B or
Right.
B's, and things that, you know, or games that follow the leader is really good. You know, so it's trying to find those things that work in this environment that engages the individual but makes them feel part of the group at the same time. And there's tons of it.
Yeah. And having to draw from this great source of creativity that we hopefully have in ourselves.
Yes. Well, from years
at any given moment. What sort of tips or techniques or ideas would you have for people who are at home and obviously a little bit bored? What sort of creative tips would you have musically of something to do? It could be anything.
Well, I mean, there's so many levels that you could do that on. Obviously, there are simple kind of musical instrument making things that go all the way from, you know, all the way from I don't know, a jar of coins.
Oh, the classic jar of coins is a good one.
Coins to, you know, like to kind of anything that you can hit. I mean, as simple as pots and pans. I mean, I did a whole workshop the other day where everybody just got pots and pans out. You know, follow the leader. Yeah. Now, the trick is how you as a facilitator manage that when you're dealing with muting all and not unmuting, because it can be chaotic. So there's a skill in that. But if you are looking for things to do with people whilst you're maybe at home and not engaging on Zoom and things. So yes, as simple as that, as simple as making your own instruments and then sticking on your favorite tunes and then playing along to them. And
on that note, I totally agree. This is a good one actually. If anyone at home has a hula hoop, then I've got a hula hoop and I've attached Pringles full of stuff to it.
Okay.
I call it a sharebarine. Yeah. Which is a portmanteau of sharing and tambourine.
Yeah.
And the idea is that one person gets one end, another person gets another end. I think you can fit about 5 people around it. And then you give it a good old shake. That could be quite fun for some group shaking stuff. And also, the other benefit is it gives you a flipping good workout as well.
The sharebarine. I love the sharebarine. The sharebarine is great. I mean, we have loads of things that if you were in the room, you can do. I build, one of my things is building accessible instruments, so accessible guitars using electronics and makey and things like that.
Great.
And I have right here, I have a theremin, and we have sound beams and all sorts of things. But you know, that's all well and good. Me just doing it in performance terms. But actually what we're after here is sharing. One thing that we do a lot is something that I picked up on a course a long time ago is called click stop, which is and it works really nicely in this environment when you've got lots of people on Zoom or whatever. And it's about just simply giving each other their space, and you can fill that space with whatever you want.
Yeah.
And in a way, it works even better because we're so getting used to this. But you would say the word click, and you can do whatever you want in that space, but that everybody else needs to know that that's your space, you know? And so then it's like, stop. Okay. And the next person, and it's what's really nice in this thing, you can just unmute and mute. And do you know what? You do what you like. You know, and sometimes you can do it with games, and you can do it with a song. You can make something up, you can sing, you can play. But the click stop idea is like, it's now your thing, and you can do that really nicely with Zoom because you can spotlight people. This is now Ian or whoever's turn to just hold the floor for a minute.
Absolutely.
And you know, we call it spotlighting, and those kind of things are really nice. Obviously, that's not a tip for things that you can do in the real world.
Certainly good for any practitioners who might want to go online and are using Zoom. So very invaluable.
Yeah, Lois, it's really about making people feel like this is for them. They are a part of this thing. This isn't something that they're just having done to them. You know, this isn't. This is a 2-way, if not 20-way thing. You know, and things where you can pass. You can pass the music somehow. So I'm going to do my bit, and I'm going to pass to, you know, Michael over here. And so unmute. And that's a really nice thing to be able to pass it around as well. So, which you would do actually in a circle game in the room, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So
it translates pretty well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
really?
it does. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for this chat. It's been really enlightening. It's been really great to get to know your work over the past week, see what you're doing. I think it's absolutely fantastic and so important for people. It's so obvious that it's helping people so much, and that's so amazing to see. So,
well, I think the thing that's going to be interesting is how does it, you know, what's the trajectory of this? Because for us, like, yes, we are going to get back to doing live interactive music making that challenges perceptions, gets people out of social isolation, and unites professional musicians and people with learning disabilities to be empowered to do amazing things. That we are going to get back to that, absolutely. But
I think
but there's a bit of this that we are going to carry on, because we are reaching people that we couldn't reach before. We are getting to places, we are exploring creative things that for me I find very interesting, you know, that I think that there's a lot more to have. We're able to pull in people that have been saying for years, friends of mine, musician friends, oh yeah, I'll come and do something, and for whatever reason they've not been able to. Now is the time. I mean, we've got guests. We have on a Wednesday, our 11 o'clock show is when we bring in a special guest, and we've had loads of really interesting people come through the gates on that. And what it's done is it's brought a few more people. It's challenged their perceptions of what this kind of thing could be, and it's really kind of brought you know. So I think those kind of things are going to carry on, and our real world stuff will come back at some point too.
And the thing is, when the real world stuff does come back, we'll look back on this, and the people that we work with will look back on this time, and they will say, and they will think, Electric Umbrella didn't go anywhere.
No, they were there.
They were there, or this person or that organization, they didn't disappear. They were there, and they were continuous. They were consistent. They offered the continuity that I needed. Yeah, you know, and I think that's really important, is to turn up. You know, I think
just get in the room. You're absolutely right. I mean,
if you're faced with a difficulty, just turn up. Yeah, because the chances are it will go better than you thought or hoped.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we were able to do that at the beginning, because there was, you know, as I said, there was a period where we just assumed that was it for us. You know, as a small organization, you know, trying our best just to pay each other's wages, so that we, you know, so that we didn't have to, because as soon as we all went on furlough, the charity as a whole would have just been mothballed, and then what would we be unpacking, you know, in September? It would just be this sort of dusty old thing that isn't relevant anymore. And I'm glad that we were able to do that. But I also understand that it's not been easy for people. We dove headfirst into it, accepting that we were going to make mistakes, accepting that there were going to be issues. We started using Zoom before they put passwords on everything, before you had a waiting room. You know, now to get into our sessions, you also have to have an Electric Umbrella account. So there's 3 stages of security you have to go through before you get in. And so now we're having absolutely no problems with security, no problems with trolls. Whereas at first it was, you know, there were some fruity moments where you thought, no, this is. I mean, but we made sure that we had an army of people who were on it, and nothing too bad happened. But I understand that if you're an established organization, you can't be diving in the way that we did. You know, you can't be making those mistakes in real time. And I get that. But you know, that's why I'm sort of grateful that we gave ourselves permission to do that, because we didn't know, they didn't know. We didn't know. So
that's it. You've hit the nail on the head. It's about giving oneself permission.
Yes.
To just go for it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Tom. Mate, I really appreciate your time. It's been really nice to meet you.
Yes, I know. It's so
strange electronic way.
Well, what would be lovely? Why don't you come and sort of do something with us? Why don't you come and deliver something and just come to a session, like one of our small sessions, and just just do a game, or show us your shakerine, or you know, in a shareberine. Sorry.
That would be great. I'd love to do that.
Okay.
I know. I'm following you on Facebook, so I will do that.
So just so you know what we're running, every day we do outward facing stuff called Electric Umbrella TV, which is, you know, for and featuring adults with learning disabilities with music and all of that. And it goes out at 11 o'clock. And then at 4 o'clock, we have our sing along, which is again outward facing. Everybody's welcome, people from all over the world. At 2 o'clock every day now, we have a cyber session. So that's a closed, it doesn't get broadcast out. It's a closed session. It's established groups, and that's where we're doing all of our exploring and trying and and all of that. And it's from there that we're then taking essentially like the EUTV is now what we used to do on stage. When we would get up on the stage and we would tell everybody about who we are, and we'd dance and we'd sing, and we'd change everybody's mind about this person or that person. That's what our outward looking stuff has turned into.
Fantastic.
But you'll be most welcome at any of it to come and, it's really good for trying stuff because it's every day. So if you think, you know what, I've got this idea, I'd like to give it a go. Well, we're
you're there. You're going to be there.
Guinea pigs. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, the guinea pigs.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good luck with it all, and hope to see you soon in one of the sessions.
Yeah, you'll be most welcome. All right, mate.
All right, take care of yourselves. Thanks for the chat.
Signing out. See you later.
See you later. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.